I would first of all like to thank Prime Minister Modi for his visionary leadership at this critical time in world history in bringing together world leaders from the G20 nations and beyond to harness some of the latest innovations in digital technology and AI to solve some of the world's biggest problems. I would also like to thank Ministers Ashwini Vaishnav and Rajiv Chandrasekhar and Shiv Khemka of TGELF for all their wonderful work in making this event possible today. The world today is at a tipping point. We're like at a razor's edge between two very different world scenarios. On one hand, we have a world where digital technology and AI have spun out of control and replaced the very definition and experience of what it means to be a human being living on this planet today. On the other hand, we have a scenario where we have harnessed some of these tools of digitization and AI and quantum computing to radically decentralize the infrastructure needed to deliver key commodities and have empowered 8 billion people on this planet to live a better life. I believe that the world's two largest democracies of India and the United States have a critical role to play in how we use digital technologies, whether to empower people or disempower people. A good example is nuclear technology. We can use it either to destroy the planet with the touch of a button, or we can use it to provide billions with clean energy. Technology by itself is neither good nor bad. It's the consciousness with which we deploy it that determines whether it's good or whether it's bad. In my own journey at NanoBioSim, we've been harnessing precision diagnostics with advanced data analytics to enable new tools for early disease detection, personalized medicine, and mobile wearable devices that enable people to have real-time information about what's happening inside their own body. I'd like to close by sharing an example of some of our innovations at NanoBioSim and invite you all here at the G20 to collaborate with us in bringing innovations like this and other digital technologies to help decentralize how we deliver healthcare on a global scale. When you think about it, your health is the most important thing you have. Our Gene Radar puts your health in your hands. We are harnessing over 20 years of research at the frontier of physics, biomedicine, and nanotechnology to bring to you the next generation of healthcare. A platform called Gene Radar that will decentralize, mobilize, and even personalize your healthcare experience. Gene Radar is a mobile diagnostic device that allows you to diagnose any disease with a genetic fingerprint in real time with gold standard accuracy. We can take the HIV viral load test that typically takes about $200 in 2 weeks in the developed world and up to 6 months in sub-Saharan Africa and do it in minutes with our version 1.0 platform. Gene Radar will empower you to personalize your healthcare experience by not only detecting but also preventing diseases before you manifest symptoms. In fact, we've developed an application to measure your levels of inflammation in real time. Now, this is a key factor common to cancer, diabetes, heart disease, even the fundamental process of aging itself. We call this personalized nanomedicine. Gene Radar can also help you customize the management of key diseases. If you have cancer, it can help you optimize your chemotherapy to maximize its effectiveness and minimize its toxicity. The gold standard of medical diagnosis today is based on a 20-year-old Nobel Prize-winning technology called PCR. PCR is the foundation of a multi-billion-dollar molecular diagnostics industry that relies on bulky, expensive machines. We are bringing you the next generation, real-time, gold standard, mobilized diagnostics. We are revolutionizing how you diagnose disease. By placing a drop of blood or saliva into a nanochip, we can rapidly analyze genetic fingerprints at the nanoscale. We have harnessed our unique capabilities to precision control nanomachines as they read and write DNA. This enables real-time, continuous monitoring of your health. With our nanobiophysics innovations, we will bring you an entire pipeline of pioneering products that will completely transform your healthcare experience. Over the last 20 years, we've experienced two profound technological revolutions. What Google did for access to information and the mobile phone did for telecommunications. we at Nanobiosym are doing for healthcare. Our Gene Radar puts your health in your hands.
Absolutely brilliant, don't you think? In fact, it's one of the reasons why I totally love this, wearing this anchor hat, is because I get to be at places where wonderful things like these are happening. My name is Vasanthi Hariprakash. I'm a startup founder myself with Pickle Jar, a podcast creating company. And it's wonderful to meet you all, whether in those small little breaks or backstage. So a very warm welcome to this post-lunch session on day 2. Namaskara, ili bandiruanta pratiyobbarigu swagata. It's just a couple of minutes if I can take to tell you who we just now heard. That's Dr. Anita Goel, MD, PhD, a world-renowned expert and global entrepreneur in the emerging field of nanobiophysics. And Dr. Goel is the person who elucidates the physics of one of the most fundamental processes of living matter at the Nanobiosym Research Institute, that is the NBS, the way nanomotors read and write information into DNA, and she's commercializing these innovations to empower people with real-time precision data about their own health. So she's been named as one of the world's top 35 science and technology innovators by MIT Technology Review, and she's one of the world's most influential visionaries in biotech. She has been recognized globally by many, many prestigious honors. In the interest of time, I'm leaving that out. But she has over 70 patents, I'm told, worldwide. And she has published in leading scientific journals like Nature and Scientific American, etc., convened and chaired international conferences at Stanford and Harvard. And she's an MD from the Harvard-MIT Joint Division of Health Sciences and Technology. May we hear it for the speaker who just now spoke to us, Dr. Anita Goel. Yes, I'm just wondering the post-lunch energy should show, even for an incredible panel that's going to come up. I have great pleasure in introducing and welcoming the all-women panel that's coming up on stage. And may I invite Niveda RM founder, Trashcon. Chandralika Hazarika, MD and co-founder, Big Things. People, the applause can be more generous as all the people are, thank you. Wonderful. Sumana Iyengar, CEO and co-founder, Go Vega. Ria Karuturi, co-founder and CTO of Hoovu. Mabel Chaco, co-founder, Open Financial Technologies. And to moderate this conversation, I call upon Sanjana Govindan, partner at Women Entrepreneurship Platform, WEP, and lead Women Entrepreneurship Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, that's GAME. So let me just take a couple of lines about Sanjana, who's going to be moderating this. Okay, she's already saying, right, let's probably start with the panel. She leads the women entrepreneurship efforts at GAME and spearheads innovative interventions that empower women entrepreneurs. Over to you, Sanjana.
Thank you. Is this on? So correction, I'm leading the Women Entrepreneurship Platform at Niti Aayog, WEP, and that's the context in which I'm here. I'm standing in for my boss, Anna Roy. So firstly, thank you everybody for joining us. For those of you who are coming in, I'd request you to grab your seats. I promise this is going to be entertaining and exciting and educational, all three. So just to give you a little bit of context, this conversation is really about inclusive innovation and the journey of women founders, and we're surrounded by some real heavyweights today. But in the larger context of thinking about entrepreneurship, we see data and statistics on how India has got the third largest ecosystem, etc. There's a good question to ask about how much of that is inclusive, how much of that is systems that are built and enabled for and by women. So today, I think our conversation is going to coalesce around what journeys look like, what some of the barriers will look like, but also really think about solutions and what kind of solutions we can build for the future. So without further ado, and we'll go from right to left, my right, I'd like to introduce speakers, and the format for today is really going to be an informal but informative conversation. I'm also, just in the interest of making sure it's useful to you at the end of this, you can reach out to the founders to get in touch with anybody on the panel. So to begin with, I'd love to introduce Mabel. Mabel is also a good friend from the past, so it's a joy to introduce her. Everybody probably knows Mabel. She is one of our unicorns. The country is very proud of her. And she's the founder of Open, a neo-banking platform that's powering business payments for over 35 lakh small businesses in India. She's been an entrepreneur in the fintech space for 18 years now and has built a spectrum of fintech products, right from financial inclusion for mobile payments to NBFC contactless payments, payment gateways, and neo-banking. Please give a warm round of applause to Mabel.
Thank you.
So instead of introducing everyone, what I'm going to do is ask for opening comments, because I just think it'll be more fun that way. And you'll remember your speaker. So Mabel, over to you very quickly on, as the co-founder of Open, India's 100th unicorn, what were some of your lessons in building? How did you think of innovation and inclusion and diversity specifically in your journey?
So I started doing financial inclusion in rural Gujarat, moved to Bangalore for the ecosystem of startups that was there in Bangalore at that point of time. And inclusion has been a great part of my journey as an entrepreneur, not just in Open, in the things that we do for our users, but also the way we build the company, in the way we work with our teams. We are open for all kinds of talents. Doesn't have to be coming from conventional backgrounds. Almost 10% of our workforce are people who come from non-conventional, or other companies don't think they can hire them into formal jobs. So that's a big part of how the team is built, and that naturally goes into how the product becomes more inclusive for small businesses in Tier 2, Tier 3, for the visually impaired as well, things that we are doing now on our platform. So,
That's
yeah.
great. It's interesting because already takeaway number one is if you have a diverse team, not necessarily folks from your sector, you end up bringing solutions and ideas that are inclusive for all. Thank you. Next up, I have the pleasure of introducing Niveda. Again, with Niveda, I have some history. I saw her idea before it was even an idea, a mock-up several years ago. And Niveda is now changing one of India and the world's biggest problem, which is waste. And while I think until recently it was not a very glamorous problem, right now it is literally the most important topic for everybody, and especially if you live in Bangalore. Niveda is the CEO and founder of TrashCon Labs, through which she's invented the world's first completely automated mixed municipal waste segregation unit and several other technologies. Her invention has been recognized by the World Bank and the Red Cross and is much decorated, and she's received several awards. She's also sent her technology overseas to places like the Maldives. So I have a very specific question for Niveda, which is around the space that you occupy, which is working in waste, is traditionally not a space where women have any sort of agency or leadership role, or there are founders. We talk all the time about STEM and the fact that there aren't any women, but this particular space has even a lower representation. So in thinking about your problem statement, building a company, sustaining yourself, what was your journey?
So very true. In fact, the space that I chose was waste management. And we were into hardcore manufacturing, which is even more only men. And forget all that, I started at an age of, at the age of 22. And I come from a very middle class background where they don't know what is business, right? So, and I had no funds, nothing, negative. And I'm going to solve the world's biggest problem. It was a joke to me, myself, it was a joke. But then what kept me going was that somebody had to solve this problem. And if not, I who? And that was it looks very nice when I say that. And maybe that's how I started. But to be very frank, what we're trying to solve is the waste on the streets in Bangalore, in India, in Africa, which is currently going into the landfills. We have an end-to-end solution to prevent that. But to do that, you have to go to the landfills. You have to see what is happening. You have to start working there. So I literally work like a waste picker, going to the landfills. I didn't have a place to pee. You know, there's no bathroom in the dump site. And there was nothing. I mean, I was wearing an overall full day. But what I want to tell you is when I started and we were manufacturing and I went to this industrial estate where there are only men. And I was this young girl actually who was walking in the middle of the road and trying to weld and drill and whatnot. People were looking at me. Everybody came out of their shops. They're like, kuch pagal, and some mad girl is doing something. First day was mad girl. Second day was also mad girl. But third day they got used to it. She's doing something. She's going to the nearby garbage, like a waste picker. There are only pigs and dogs there and she's taking that waste, going to her machine, putting it. Something is wrong with her. But by the 5th day or 6th day, they started coming and giving me ideas. Why don't you do this also? Why don't you do that also? So what I've seen in my journey is that, of course, there's a lot of bias. Of course, even I myself had a lot of doubts. Forget others. I had a lot of doubts. But over a period of time, when you keep at it, and keep at it with the intention that you have, I think the world changes and everything becomes very supportive. So.
I think it's really great that you brought this up because I always imagine if it was a male founder in your place, a lot of the problems that you just said, there was no bathroom, there's no dignified way to do the job you were doing, would never even be a mainstream conversation because by default, I'm male, it's not my problem. So I feel like while we're so proud of what you've built, it's also great what we can unpack from your journey, and I hope we get to more questions in a minute. My next speaker is Chandralika Hazarika. She is a branding and marketing professional with over 15 years of experience, and she's turned her attention to digital entrepreneurship with a focus on building digitally empowered brands. She strives to build simple, well-positioned, and intuitive high-tech products that anyone can quickly understand and adopt. At Big Things, she is building revolutionary new ways to put consumers first and foremost with its generative AI products for fashion, retail, gaming, and wellness. Chandralika is a strong supporter for women in tech, and she's the recipient of the Distinguished Accenture Women in Tech 2021 award. She's also an active speaker and advocate for emerging technologies, including Web 3.0 and gaming, and is involved with educational institutions globally to familiarize students with new job opportunities being created due to the technological revolution. Warm welcome. As you can also notice, she's the snappiest dresser here. And just before the panel, I asked her, so Chandralika, what do you do? And then she said, I'm revolutionizing fashion. So we will come to that in a minute. But before you start, you said something interesting. Today, she is here through a series of deliberate and intentional actions. She's based out of London. She's pushed a flight to be here and talk to all of us. But why she's based in London is the reason I want to talk to her. Tell us a bit about your journey and how you ended up being the British government's poster child.
Thank you so much, and I'm very kind of you, and lovely to be this amazing women out here. I'm the happiest when I am with women founders or just anyone, because as she said, unfortunately, I am still the only woman I walk into any room. And whenever I see anyone, I'm the happiest. So yes, I'm the co-founder of Big Things. It's one of the best fashion tech companies globally. And I was just looking around. There was edtech, fintech around this room. So the term fashion tech is still very new. We all wear fashion. During the pandemic, that was one sector that was not impacted was fashion. You were sitting in front of your Zoom calls, but we all wanted to dress up properly. And so that's one impact. That sector was not at all impacted. So what we do is we focus everything around the human body data. So if I get your body data correct, I can solve all the problems of fashion. That includes from the manufacturing, supply chain. So just from your mobile photo, like any phone, just from a photo, I get all your body measurements. I then compare with the size specifications of any brand that you have, and I can tell you exactly which brand, which size you need to buy. And most importantly, if you think at a much deeper level, today I'm working with the world's biggest brands. I was just telling her one of the biggest luxury brands in UK, and it's very difficult. All the problems the CEOs are facing is supply chain. They don't know how much to manufacture, which geography. Our body types are so unique. So once you start using my technology, maybe in next 6 months, your designers know what to design for which body type and how much to manufacture and supply to which geography. Very simple. I am from Assam. I'm very tiny. We all, within India itself, our body types are so different, forget the country. Yeah.
So when I was thinking about what Chandralika does, one of the things that did strike me very strongly is exactly this, that there are so many different body types, configurations, aesthetics and things that we men and women aspire to and are. And it's only organizations like hers and technology that allows us to break out of this contemporary mold that already exists and build for our identities. And so it actually, in many ways, the inclusion of who we are starts with what you're doing.
Yes, right.
So it's great to
Thank you so much.
explore that conversation. Next, I have the privilege of introducing Sumana Iyengar. She is the CEO and co-founder of GoVega Software. She started the company in 2014 with two other co-founders, Sachin and Mahesh, and they started just by investing their time and knowledge, and today they lead a team of over 100 people, leading engineering services for companies across the world in US, Canada, Europe, Singapore, and India. They've helped many startups think through their digital transformation and cloud solutions. They work across industry verticals, and they've now started operating in Canada as well. Their vision and mission is to be a trusted technology partner for SMBs and startups and make them future ready, leveraging AI, automation, and cloud. Sumana has more than 25 years of experience, don't let her appearance deceive you, in product engineering, and she's a joy to speak to. So I think I have a question to her, which was originally slated for someone else on the panel, which was really around a woman co-founder in the software space. We know that India has some of the highest graduation rates for tertiary technology, but what has your journey been like in hiring, building an inclusive team, and scaling your business?
Hi. Thank you, everyone, for giving this opportunity. So, I'm an engineer by background and entrepreneur, mother, daughter, daughter-in-law, sister, wife, everything. Playing different roles both in family and business. So when we started this company GoVega Software in the year 2014, actually we didn't start for some financial gain, or we were tired of our jobs, or because our peers became unicorn and we were in, so we didn't start for that purpose. The whole purpose of starting GoVega was, we saw there was a meaningful problem to solve. When we were working in MNC, we saw that like most of the MNCs were catering for large customers. But we did see a gap where the startups, SMBs also needed technology expertise. And because of that, we thought, okay, that's also a $51 billion market, and it's a good market to be there and be their trusted technology partner, and also help them grow their business. So we started this journey. Actually, we started in a 2-bedroom apartment. And as you rightly said, hiring challenge. The people who used to come for the first round of interview used to disappear in the second round. Because today, the young generation also likes to see a great campus, flashy buildings, and not many are matured enough to think through the kind of work that they would really want to do. And holistically, very few will look into that aspect. So we started in a 2-bedroom apartment, and hiring was a challenge. So that is the time I reached out to all my old connects, my friends, and also the freshers community, which was eager to join us. And also I reached out to all my old women colleagues, asked them like who had taken a break in their career because they had to take care of the kid or elderly person at home, and who wanted flexibility to work from home in 2014, I'm saying, when most of the companies, every day we were supposed to come to office, right? And in MNCs, there is a rule, those days it was there, where only if you are above lead level, you get the laptop. We changed that. From day one, including freshers, everybody had a laptop. Actually, we were COVID ready even before
I think most businesses run by women were COVID ready
Yeah.
before COVID.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So that's how I try to mitigate the hiring challenge, and also we did understand that not just hiring people would be sufficient. You need to equip them with skills, and for me, I realized that team is the foundation of the pyramid. If you have the right team with you, the customer will come to you, they'll stay with you, because if the team is happy, the customers are going to be happy. So we ensured that at least 60 to 70% of our team, even now, are equipped with, they are continuously getting upskilled and reskilled with the new technologies. Because today's innovation, if you want to innovate something better, you need to upskill and reskill people with the latest technology. Because innovation leverages new technologies and platform. So that's what we are trying to focus on.
That's fantastic. But I love your point about taking a risk, changing the rules of the game, giving a laptop right at the beginning, being flexible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's probably changed the trajectory of your organization.
Absolutely.
Great. So more on this in a minute. I'd like to introduce our last speaker, Ms. Ria Karuturi. She's co-founder and CEO of Huvu Fresh. She, along with her sister Yashoda, founded Huvu 4.5 years ago with the aim of bringing a fresh take to tradition. They started with fresh puja flowers by elongating the shelf life from 2 to 3 days to 15 days. Since then, they've also started a range of agarbattis made with recycled temple flowers and other puja essentials made with all natural ingredients. They are available in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Chennai for flowers through all major grocery channels, and they're available pan-India online. This year, they were fortunate to be featured on Shark Tank as the first pitch of the episode, of the season rather, and before Huvu, Ria completed her undergraduate degree in computer science and journalism from Stanford. Warm welcome. So my question to you is actually, you work very much in the sustainable space. I think Huvu is known for being thoughtful about what you put out. Was that a deliberate choice you made right from the beginning? And or did somebody in your mentorship circle, etc., say that it made good business sense? My second part to that question is, did this add to your cost? Being sustainable, did it make it more inefficient, or was that a price you were willing to pay?
First of all, thank you guys, everyone, for being here, and I'm so honored to be sharing the stage with all of these lovely ladies. With our Huvu journey, I think we started in 2019. I actually was still in college when my sister Yashoda started out Feb of 2019 for Valentine's Day. And I think from day one, maybe it's just like everything we learned in school, everything we learned in college, and the general environment around us, it was just so obvious to us that we had to do things in the most sustainable way possible. In terms of the cost perspective, there's definitely a premium to any kind of sustainable choices that you make. But I think for us, we always saw the long-term benefit of it, not just to the environment, but as a business perspective as well, right? I think the first and probably the biggest step that we took was reducing the wastage of the flowers. So typically in this industry, you see about 40% of wastage, in the market ladies and stuff like that. As soon as we showed up and kind of pitched our idea to them, they were like, you guys are crazy. But as soon as we said, that 40% wastage can come down to about 3%, that's when they were excited as well, right? So I think there was always an economic edge to that sustainability. And today, I think every D2C startup will talk about customer acquisition cost, right? And there's different aspects to your CAC. And obviously, the largest thing that people talk about is advertising. I think when you invest in sustainability and you bring people along with you on that journey, and they know that they're not harming the environment by partaking in your product, that's part of your customer acquisition cost, right? That's what creates love. That's what creates loyalty from your customers. And to be honest, it wasn't really a mentor or I would say even a conscious choice from our side. It was always our customers who drove us to think about it better. I remember when we started, our subscriptions were 10 rupees per day. And we would go to every apartment and do the deliveries 5 o'clock in the morning. And there was few customers who would be like, you guys are not going to make any money doing this. a few other customers were like, this is so environmentally irresponsible for you guys to be driving all the way here just to, in Sarjapur, Whitefield and all of that. So then they would help us onboard other customers in their building. And they'd be like, get at least 50 customers and then come deliver to me. So honestly, it was a community-driven effort, and I think it always came from our customers, which was wonderful.
That's so great to hear. I feel like every time I've talked to women founders, there's always been a serendipity of sorts of things that helped, but all founders, I think. So I'm just going to move to one of the questions that gets asked a lot, and I know everyone has at the back of their mind, and especially given that we have a diverse panel here, and that's the question about funding. Funding for when you start your organization, funding when you're thinking about scaling, funding when you're in a crunch. So no other opener other than our unicorn today. So I think, Mabel, my question to you is, when you were bootstrapping Open, how did you approach raising capital? What were some of the conscious choices you made? And then once you were established, was there a wish list that you wish after all your experience that existed, but it didn't? So if you could wave a magic wand, what would that be?
Interesting question. Bootstrapping has been a very long part of my journey. I've done it all the while. Probably Open was, in my personal journey, the more easier of the rides that I've had in fundraising, because we started out with some bit of angel investment. Most other startups, 5 other startups that I've done before this, I have invested my own funds, not had food for days together, didn't have any way to commute when I was new to Bangalore, hopped multiple buses, stayed on 20 rupees a day. That was mine and Anisha's daily budget. So have done bootstrapping for a very long time. But having said that, in all these years of doing startups, one thing I figured out is, as an entrepreneur, you need to know, if you're trying to raise funds, which are the VCs that invest into your segment. What is happening, and that is not something that you can acquire by just reading one day. You need to be constantly conscious about the news that's happening in your segment. Who are your competitors? Who are your global peers? Which are the funds that invest in these kind of companies? Not just fintech, be it whichever tech you are working on, fashion tech, ed tech, it holds true across all industries. Know who are the VCs that are going to be investing in your segment. Who are the ones who are putting out those white papers about and knowledge sharing sessions. They have a lot of closed door conversations. So knowing whom to pitch to is a big part of raising funds. We were lucky. We had Amrish and Jiten, who were our ex-bosses at Citizen PayU, to come in as angel investors with Open. But having said that, we were always penny wise on what our expenses were. And then when we were planning for scale, we knew exactly which are the funds that invest in this kind of segment. Tiger Global was our lucky charm for a very long time. CDC, we got some very marquee investors like Visa, like Google, to come and back us up. And finally, the unicorn round, we had a very strategic partner with whom we do a lot of things for lending to small businesses, IIFL, and that was a perfect match to what we wanted to do for small businesses in this segment. So, to sum it up, as an entrepreneur, know who are the ones, be actively researching. There's no shortcut. No one else is going to do it for you. Keep reading the news. Keep following the people in your segment. Know who are the investors who invest in your segment, and if they have done it in one of your competitors, probably they're not going to put the money behind you. They might have engaging conversations with you, but that might be just to get out more information. So know when to call it the shots, and and when you're planning for fundraise, this is my biggest learning. At least look for, and now funding winter has changed that a little bit, but at least have a 12-month runway in front of you. You're really safe. You're going to get really bad deals if you're going to go in when you're cash crunched, right? And have a good runway, 6 months, 8 months, the more the merrier. In these funding winter days, it's going to be. If you had your magic wand? My magic wand was Deena Jacob, my co-founder. She is, having a co-founder is a great thing. A lot of founders ask me, should I have a co-founder or not? And we are 4. 2 women, 2 men, right? Diversity starts there with us. But fundraising was not easy even for Tina because when we were doing her Series A, she was pregnant and the entire time she was trying to hide her baby bump and no one realized it till she finally put the mail saying, I'm going for delivery. I should be back in 3 or 4 days max. I'll be available on WhatsApp and
That's
on
a very familiar story.
email. And 3 days later, when she sends out the mail saying that blessed with a baby girl, that's when, the investors were like, what, you were pregnant? I did not realize that, right? And that is for me, she is my personal mentor. Whenever I feel that I'm having a bad day, I look at Dina and I say that, oh, it could have been a lot more worse. Nothing that she puts up. The grit and determination that I get to see from her every day at work, my journeys of struggles are nothing in front of that.
That's very gracious. I think we underestimate how much a co-founder or partner on this journey, because entrepreneurship is extremely lonely. It's hard, no one overstates it enough. So yeah, well done, Dina. So I think, Niveda, same question. What are some of the challenges that you had in funding for your space? And I'll build on what Mabel said, which is, there is especially in sectors that are sexy, you can hire an investment banker, they will do homework for you and all of that. In sectors that are emerging and oftentimes there doesn't exist a thesis, you also have to do the additional work of educating a potential funder, educating the ecosystem. So your time cycles are also significantly larger. So how did you approach, you said right at the beginning, you bootstrapped, middle class. What did you do? What's your secret?
So very, very true. We were in a sector that was considered unsexy and we still are, waste management. And on top of that, it is mostly, people think mafia, it's ruled by mafia. And we were bringing technology. So everything was a no-no in terms of, investment. But to be very frank, Sanjana, we actually were building bots that there was nothing like it. And we were actually solving the need of the hour by the dot. So the entire community wanted a solution like this and we were right there on time. So to be very frank, from day one, we have been profitable. We have been scaling very well without actually getting investors. But investment was a very conscious choice for us, not really to get money inside, but to get the right support system to help scale. Because for us, it was about support system, getting the right people who can take us forward. So we actually raised funds when we didn't need. And I think that was great. To be very frank, that was great because that's when you get the right terms. Today we have some of the best terms. Our investors look at us as equals. We have amazing independence, So, and I've seen other startups as well. But what I'm trying to say is when we were raising funds, and okay, so we didn't consciously raise funds, but I'll tell you this. In the initial stages, I was speaking at a lot of forums and people loved what I do, especially Indian investors. Many of them came to us and said, this is amazing, you've come up with an invention that has literally no bounds, right? Waste is one thing that will never come down and there was nothing like this. Yeah. Always growing. So, when they see all these points, there is nothing like it. This is an innovation in a space which is so constrictive, limiting by its own nature. They back off because, to be very frank, and I want to put it out there, Indian investors, and I'm saying the startup ecosystem has come so beautifully far and fundraising has become so easy, startups are getting funded, but still something new, something impactful, something in a field that nobody has thought about is not something we are, as Indian investors, I've seen a lot of openness and a lot of risk aversion is too much, too high. Now, I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is if our own Indian investors do not invest in innovations that are really solving our own country's problem, then we cannot expect innovations to come out of India. It cannot always be a cut, copy, paste
Absolutely.
from,
I'll say it for you. Indian investors are scared sometimes of risk and there's no close proxy to compare.
Absolutely. So to be very frank, today we have some of the largest investors globally. And again, I did not go for fundraising. They came to us. Literally, it was never that we went to. We had to pick and choose sometimes. And we have the likes of CVC, if you know, there are 122 billion asset under management. Mr. Steve Coltis is on our board. Again, I did not go. So it was a very organic process because throughout this journey, there was only one intention, solving the problem. There was only one intention, solving the problem. So I think that is what kept us going. But again, when it comes to fundraise, I would strongly suggest and that has worked for us, not consciously but unconsciously, that raise it at a time when you are not like desperate for it to get the best of terms and you get better valuations. And frankly, for startups like us, which are from India, solving some of the largest problems, frankly, today international investors are a better choice. Sorry.
Got it.
But,
No, I think
but-
that makes sense. You have a thesis on what your valuation could look like. Actually, what Mabel said was so true, and we were laughing about it here. We've been in so many conversations where somebody's building their thesis and just gathering intelligence, and you basically let everything go because you think there's a golden egg at the end of it. But thanks, that's very insightful. Chandralika has been bursting to give us her input on funding. And I have a sense that given that she works in fashion and in fashion tech, her journey has probably been slightly more complicated than a product or a fintech. So over to you. Can you tell us a little bit about what your journey has been?
Yes, thank you so much. I just go with both of these lovely women. It's really sad what you said is so true. I'm just happy someone else is saying the truth, because often I'm the only one, and my co-founder told me, please be careful what you speak today. So I am very careful today. But yes, just like hers, I'm also come from a sector, as I said, did not exist, fashion tech. I started long back in 2016. Asking any brand to go digital means it's like people are just going to laugh on your face, because fashion is all about touch and feel. Our process has been, in a way, I had to slowly, I was getting more attention or the respect that I wanted from Europe. That was not a conscious choice. It was started like in 2019 when one of the biggest luxury brands from Milan picked up 10 fashion tech companies globally, and I was the only Asian company, and today often, me and my co-founder are representing the whole continent globally, and that's a huge honor, and women obviously. So I moved to Milan. After that, the pandemic started. I was in Milan when this happened, and somehow we got the last flight out, and thank God I'm alive. And then it started. There was Stockholm. Again, Sweden had a lot of emphasis on women founders. I was invited to Stockholm, a completely funded trip. Again, got a lot of support from the Indian government. I was in Helsinki for Slush after that. So I was getting a lot of global exposure. In India, at that time, I did not get the support at all. Investors definitely did not understand my space at all, and obviously they're scared when they don't know a space and you say that I have a big client in Europe. They'll be like, okay, I don't know Europe, I don't know the space, I cannot invest, and you're too ahead of the curve. That's again a problem. If you're too innovative, they're going to get scared. So you have to balance it out. A lot of bootstrapping happened. I know my co-founder even sold his house. He put in all the money, and till we got the bigger deals. Ours is all about human body data. We needed a lot of money to create the data. As an early stage company, you cannot go and pay 10 million to buy a data set as an AI company, so you have to create your own data. It was a beautiful journey, as I said. Not getting enough support, but yes, last year she did mention about UK. It so happened I was invited for the Commonwealth Games in the UK, again representing India as a delegate. And after that, there was a lot happened. They encouraged us to open an office in UK, so that's our European base. And yes, from there, today we're working with the best in the world. But it was
That's
tough.
wonderful. You actually said something that I want to pick up. Your co-founder sold his house. And that leads me to this question that women are often confronted with. Just what's your access to formal capital in the absence of any asset that you own? It usually, you require a male member or someone else to hedge for you. So did you not sell your house?
I didn't have one.
All right, that's a straightforward answer. So now changing gears from a VC-funded business to a profitable tech business, what was your bootstrap journey, and how did you fund GoVega and grow to where you are today?
Sure, thank you. So I'll just give a little bit of background. So when we started GoVega, we quit our jobs and we three of us started this. All we invested was time and knowledge. No money, no vitamin M. So what we did was we were meticulous in terms of saving every penny and putting that money back as an investment for the growth of the company. And we did consulting, we earned, we put the money back to the company. So from day one, we were generating revenue. And today we are close to 100 people company, profitable organization, paying taxes to the government. No, that's important, right, Sanjana? And like recently when we, especially after the COVID hit and when you're doing product engineering services, sometimes your payments do not come on time from your customers. So you also need to be, ready with some kind of a backup. So I approached our bank with whom I've been associated with for last 9 years. I asked them, hey, I need a OD. I just need an OD. Now for the OD, they said, oh, you need to give your collaterals. I said, why? Why should I give my collaterals? My family won't agree. Nobody will pledge their property. My co-founders won't agree. So I said, so what is the other option? The other option is you put a FD and you get OD on FD. So, I mean, for your own money, you're going to get your OD. The only advantage I saw there is if you keep the money in the current account, you don't get any interest. Okay. I mean, you move that to FD and then took the OD. But what I realized is, see, the bankers who have been working with us for so long, in fact, every bank, they need to see what is the business model we are operating at. And they need to see our revenue that's incoming, the cash flow. And they should be able to give us OD without all these ifs and buts, And at the same time, most of the bank folks, they also don't know the kind of policies even the government makes for the women, that education is missing, that awareness is missing within the financial institution who are actually lending loans or OD for that matter. So that education is required even for them.
No, I think that's a fantastic point because it cuts across segments. You were with all the privilege, the type of business you were running, you still could not access formal capital. And this problem is so much more aggravated if you are from a slightly more vulnerable community working in a business that the banker does not understand. So your point is very valid, and while there exist formal schemes for bankers to be educated, the problem is the last mile. It is still human interface and somebody who looks at you with a bias, who makes a decision on yes or no.
Absolutely. And just one point to that. I have been talking to some of the women entrepreneurs and just sharing even their pain points briefly here, that when a woman goes to get the loan for the business, there is multiple times you have to revisit, and the process is longer compared to a male.
There's actually
asking
a
for
data
a loan.
point.
And one of my another friend who is an entrepreneur, she was asked this question: where is your husband? Did you take his permission to take the loan? I mean, come on.
No, it's actually funny. Yesterday, I was meeting someone who took an educational loan, and she had to get an NOC from her husband that she had put her parents' house as her address proof instead of her husband's house as her address proof. And this is in Bangalore, a very large bank, which I will not name. But it just goes to show that someone who's going overseas with 17 years of experience had to get a NOC from her husband because she put her permanent address as her parents. So coming to our last speaker on this subject, you mentioned that you started with 10 rupees a day. Maybe your unit economics didn't quite add up at that point. How did you bootstrap? Did you self-fund yourself? Did you have an angel? Did you have someone to support you? What was your journey?
So we actually started with a small angel check, and yeah, definitely, like, we were first-time founders, fresh out of college. I think we were like, yeah, 10 rupees makes sense, and then very soon, I think every day our parents would be like, you're working this hard for a 10 rupee packet. And they would like, it was just so funny to them that we were doing all of these gymnastics to get a 10 rupee packet out. But I think we had to start that way. I don't think there was any other, we had to mark the market economics that the lady on the street was doing. We had to meet her at that point. And I think that's what we did. In terms of our fundraise journey, I think there's 4 main things that I would like to talk about. The first one was, in the first year, we went through the Techstars Accelerator program, which is a Boulder-based program. I think that kind of introduced us to the startup ecosystem. We came from a family business, so my mom and dad had a business of their own. So we kind of were always looking at banking and cash flow and stuff like that as revenue sources. But I think in 2019, 2020, that was kind of like, you know, there was a huge bump up in terms of the available capital, stuff like that. So that was great in terms of being part of the accelerator program. But coming to my second point, I kind of wish I'd heard what Mabel said maybe 3 years ago, because you know, we would get calls like every day from VC firms, like, you know, all the biggest ones. And we were like, you know, we're talking to this firm and that firm and this thing. Yeah, and then one of our mentors, I love him, his name is Nikhil Bandarkar, and I think every 6 months he calls us just to remind us this, and he's like, you're not being nice, you're just being dumb. And I think it always like is good piece of advice. He's like, stop taking these calls. Like, why are you taking all these analyst calls? Because his job, like usually it was a male analyst, his job is to get on calls with founders. But your job is to raise capital for your funds, so you better know whether you're in their thesis or not, and you better not be wasting your time. So I think that was a very pivotal piece of advice to get. The third thing that I wanted to say, it kind of ties into what Niveda said as well. Taking money when you don't really need it, or at least raising when you still have that runway to get the best kind of terms. Again, it came from a mentor. I remember Latika Pai, who heads Microsoft for startups. We were a part of the Sonder Connect program and things like that. And she actually invited us to give a talk to the next cohort. And we were like, oh, you know, we're not currently fundraising because we have the runway and everything. And she grabbed the mic from us and she was like, no. She was like, this is the mistake that female founders make, you know, like definitely know how much capital you need. Don't overcapitalize, don't over-dilute yourself. But when there's money on the table, you better have a damn good reason for not taking it. Because a lot of founders will take that money and then figure out what to do with it, right? I think that was a very interesting perspective. Even the round that we raised with Sauce, actually, like we weren't looking at fundraising at that time. We'd just gotten a few angel checks and stuff like that. But I think the strength of Sauce as a fund, they actually gave us all of the founders' numbers, and they were like, we're not going to sell ourselves to you. Go speak to our founders. And we were like, if we can speak to like Shashank Mehta of Whole Truth Foods and Mokobara and stuff like that, why not, right? And they told us, don't be dumb, like take the money, take it at the best possible terms, and money, whether you like it or not, is always a constraint. That doesn't mean you completely remove those guardrails, because it's important to have it, which is what I think the discipline of banking teaches us as well. But at the end of the day, get it when you still have that runway, and I think that was great advice. If we were in the market fundraising right now, I think that would be way more difficult given the funding environment. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll just do a round of closing comments on a very specific thing. If anybody knows me, you know I'm all about the solutions. So we'll go quickly around just to get a pulse on if you had one solution to offer women entrepreneurs in the ecosystem, what would it be? Before that, though, I also just want to caveat that while this panel is diverse, different sectors, different segments, we're also disproportionately privileged and recognize that. So we don't necessarily speak for everyone, and I just want to put that out there, because when you think about solutions, and this is probably my biggest concern with the way the VC ecosystem is built, it is so homogeneous, the output to the input, that you always get the same kinds of people and ideas funded. So in that note, and Lean, I'd love to start with you, Mabel. If you had to think about what an inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem looked like, what one element would it have?
Tough question, but I would love, I'm a big believer that you need access to mentors at all stages of your growth. It is not just when you're starting out when you need access to mentors. You need mentors who can coach you for scale, mentors who can take you to your unicorn valuations, and mentors who can help you reach the IPOs as well, right? So the access to a network of mentors is going to be the make and break, I feel, for the Indian startup ecosystem particularly.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one, but then initiatives like what's happening here at DIA, where the G20 nations, their ecosystem partners, people who are building it there are here. And this collaboration is happening, something that, I've wanted this to happen so much. When
So
market
that's what
access
we're
for this
building with
comes out.
WEP, a mentorship platform. But I think the biggest challenge is finding someone for whom it's not transactional.
Yeah.
That's a great input.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
my input.
Yours.
So I would like to put it in a more personal way. The biggest issue that I see with any entrepreneur, not just women entrepreneur, is the fact that the one person who doubts us the most is we ourselves. And I think I've wanted to give up at least 1,000,000 times in the first 3-4 years. A million, I'm not exaggerating. And everybody else believed in me. So I think if we can start believing in ourselves a little more, irrespective of the gender, the age, the qualification, the background, I think the world is out there waiting for people with the right solutions. It's just that we need to be a lot more confident and believe in ourselves a lot more. I know these words are sort of said a lot of times, but out of experience, I'm saying this.
There's a shortcut to that. Think like a man.
But then I thought, okay, now that I've come out of the shackles, right? I mean, and I want to say this speaking for all the panelists here, what is it that is differentiating us from the women out there? They're more brilliant, they're more smart. Why are they not here? Why are they not doing what they want to do? Why are so many women out there in India not actually going forward and doing their startups? And then I came down to the one fact, all of us here, sitting here, I speak for all of us, we are fortunate to have families supporting us. We are fortunate that our families are telling, go do whatever you want. But 90% of the women friends that I have do not have this. And I think this is the major thing she can get out of herself. She's financially, mentally, physically capable of doing it. But the one thing that is holding her back is the shackles of the one thing that she needs the most, which is her family. So for all the people sitting out there, if you have those kind of dynamic women in your lives, please go ahead and support her. Please go ahead and push her. I think that is the only difference that, the women here with me and the women out there have, to be very frank. So this is what I want to leave.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Chandralika.
So nicely said. I would say I definitely need more gentlemen out there, like my dad and my husband and everyone else. Definitely, all of you are there. Much more is required. And I just want to tell every woman out there is, I know we love our families, we're always going to give importance, but okay, you get married, you have kids, you don't have to end your career. Please come back. I need more women. We all need more women. Stop being so timid. You can be bold. You don't be proud. Don't be apologetic. You have the right to say no in a most professional, nice, gracious way you can. But please come up and follow your dreams. If you don't take the first step and you just think if you've been going to be lazy, you cannot achieve your dreams. You have to be bold, get going, work very hard. And yes, obviously, we all have gentlemen out there.
Thank you. So male allies, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think I agree to all the three of them. But along with that, I believe having knowledge is very powerful. So continuous learning is something, whether you are a male or a female, man or a woman, continuous learning is very much essential for every one of us, no matter what age you are at. Whatever dreams you want to achieve, if you put your heart and soul, whether you do the mentorship, you get the mentoring, or you take the continuous learning path, if you upskill and reskill yourself, I am 100% sure that you will be able to position yourself either as an entrepreneur or you can land in corporate jobs, but you can do wonders. But you should never give up learning. At least every day for 30 minutes, you should learn something that you are dreaming about. And then you become subject matter expert by continuous learning, because knowledge is so powerful, gender will never be able to take it away.
That's fantastic. Well said.
You asked how we can make this environment more inclusive. I think the last 10 years, whether it was copy pasting, whether it was innovative ideas, we've done a lot to build for, they say India 1. But who is best equipped to build for the rest of India, right? Like India 2, India 3, etc. And I think there's this huge cohort of fresh college grads who are the first time graduates in their family because of the social reforms that we've had. because of India Stack, now they're so comfortable with UPI, WhatsApp, etc. They all have their boat headphones and their Android phones and stuff like that. I think that is a group, if given the right tools, not just as middle management, which right now seems unattainable for them, but as entrepreneurs as well. I think that would really be unlocking a lot of power and bringing a lot of fresh perspectives into the ecosystem and building for a much larger part of the economy that we need right now.
That's a very useful input. I agree. Nobody better than the actual user to build for themselves. So just as we wrap up, I think one of my takeaways from this panel is that next time we should have men on this panel as well, so that we get an interesting perspective. But in the spirit of time and punctuality is politeness of queens, we'd like to call this to a close. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We have 1 minute to spare, and I hope you learned something. I hope you leave a little bit curious. Please reach out to any of us if you want to support our work. There's some great founders to fund, engage with, and partner with. And if you want to learn more about what the government's trying to do for women entrepreneurs, feel free to reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Request all the panelists to please stay back because there is a white paper launch, and that is on EdTech. So I request all of you to please do the good deed and launch it. Meanwhile, let's hear it for the panel. Such raw and real observations, right from being asked a husband's NOC to actual lack of self-belief that can really hurt your business, to so much more covered. Thank you so much. And please, let's hear it for the panel that you heard just now. And they're launching the white paper as well on EdTech. You are going to find the QR code on the conference kits in case you want to delve deep. And therefore, once again, thank you. You wish to hold it up? Yes. Thank you. And I'd like to request the moderator, that is Sanjana, to please give tokens of gratitude and appreciation to all our panelists. Niveda, starting from Niveda, RM founder, TrashCon. Wonderful, wonderful sharing. I was listening to you from the audience and some of it was so relatable. Thank you, people. Niveda, founder, TrashCon. Next to Chandralika Hazarika, MD and co-founder, Big Things. Chandralika, I think the Milan experience was really good. I would love to read more or hear more at some future point. Sumana Iyengar, CEO and co-founder, Goa Vega. Sumana, thank you for keeping it so realistic as to what women entrepreneurs go through. Ria Karuturi, co-founder and CTO of Huvu, an enterprise that's just so lovely to even hear the name. Thank you. And Mabel Chaco, co-founder, Open Financial Technologies. Thank you, Mabel. Loved all the insights that came from you. May I invite Omkar of MBH to give the memento to the moderator, Sanjana Govindan. Thank you once again. Inclusive Innovation Journey of Women Founders. That's what we just heard at the G20 DIA Summit. Very, very, takeaway-filled sessions for sure. In the interest of time, let me inform the audience that there is going to be a product demo now. The demo is on commerce and culture in Metaverse. And presenting it would be Rajesh Mijankar, MD, Kia.ai. Please join me in welcoming Rajesh. You heard him on the panel earlier, and now it's a demo.